Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, a High Court judge has ordered the release of 69-year-old cheesemaker Star Sabga on house arrest. Now, that part of it I don't really agree with the house arrest. She should have been released completely. And when I read more about it, more of the information there, you will understand why. It's because the judge said that the evidence presented did not show any intent to actually carry out a crime. And therefore, if you understand that and know that, why didn't you just release her completely? But nevertheless, I'm so thankful that she has been released. She's now at home after being released on house arrest late Monday night following the expiry of a temporary stay granted by the court. Because you know that's all the government doing right too, only trying to delay things. In his decision, Justice Paul questioned the need for Sabga to remain detained after the Hadiths were released when Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander revoked preventive detention orders against them last week. Wasn't I saying that? And I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I ain't no genius. Right? But I said that the cases are linked. Why on earth would you continue pursuing this next case when you have already decided that the so-called danger is no longer really that much of an issue after assessing the situation? The Hadiths were such a dangerous people, and you had them behind bars. And then because what the tribunal said, and because the Privy Council said, well, we're not going to expedite the case, the appeal case, said, you know what? Yes, so we're going to end right there in September, so let us just release them one time. You should have done that to Star Sabga as well, but you didn't. Justice Paul found there was no evidence, listen to this, no evidence that Sabga was involved in furthering the alleged conspiracy to assassinate key government officials after she made statements in an intercepted telephone conversation with Genevieve in June. I said that over and over again, people. It was just a normal conversation. Things said it was just basically wishful thinking. They never said, neither of these individuals ever said that they were going to plot to carry out any sort of crime. They never said they were going to hire anyone to commit a crime. They never said that they were affiliated with any gangs or they are in control of any gangs or anything like that in order to be able to instruct anyone to go and carry out any crime, people. It's not a propaganda being pushed by this government. I know in spite of this judge saying there was no evidence, you know the people like David Welch and others, the UNC activists will still say that people like myself lying and saying that there is evidence. They will say that when I'm saying there's no evidence, they will say I'm lying. The judges keep saying, emphasizing, that this intelligence does not prove anything. And then they will continue to say that I am lying. There's absence of any evidence that she engaged in any conspiracy or engaged in any step other than initial conversation. You cannot arrest someone and imprison someone for making a statement. There must be evidence to show intent of carrying out the crime, people. It's just like when you're watching those crime documentaries based on investigations with the FBI and stuff like that. The threats alone isn't sufficient. They need to see evidence that there's a plot, there's a plan to actually carry out the crime. And sometimes what they will do is put an undercover cop in place, pretending to be a hitman. So therefore, if this individual ends up hiring this cop to murder someone, then that person can be charged with attempted murder and conspiracy to murder and so forth. There needs to be action put in place. A case of ongoing danger must require, he went on to say, a case of ongoing danger must require more than intelligence. Justice Paul said exactly. To move forward is the same thing, people. I'm telling you, the government just abusing their rights using this SOE. Because it's the same thing. You have, when it is you carry evidence or intelligence to the DPP, the DPP will say, listen, this is not enough. Go back, continue investigation, and then come back to me when you have something that I can actually use as evidence to prosecute these people. To be able to charge them so that prosecution can start. Presenting submissions on the application, Sabga's lawyer Rishi Das claimed that an intercepted telephone conversation between Sabga and Genevieve Hadid on June 11th had been given a twisted or farcical interpretation by law enforcement officials. He noted that conversations took place after Attorney General John Jeremy's senior counsel made comments in relation to the 1% while piloting a motion in Parliament to extend the ongoing state of emergency by 3 months. It's very possible that they actually spied on those. We probably would not spy on the people all the time, but they said, you know what? We target somebody and see what's going on. Because they know already the Hadiths made certain statements condemning what the UNC was doing. So they don't know what? So we spy on them and see. Because that is exactly Satan and spying. I don't know who came up with the idea. We definitely know that the state did spy on them. Das also accused the state of leaking the recording of the 15-minute intercepted conversation, which was widely shared on social media over the weekend. It's very unlikely that the defense would have leaked that in recording. Why? Because it's counterproductive. It shines a negative light on their clients. They would not have done it. It was done by the state, most likely, in order to stir up the UNC base and to stop controversy in general, because remember, prejudice statements were made. So a lot of African people, Afro-Tradies, are also offended by what the Sabga woman said. So in particular, not really Genevieve. Ramdeen, responding to submissions, Attorney Gerald Ramdeen called on Justice Paul to deny the request. Oh, wow. I'm not surprised at all. I've been saying that for quite a while now. I don't trust this man at all. Ramdeen also called on Justice Paul to decline to second-guess the risk assessment done by Alexander, the police, and the Strategic Services Agency. He has all rights to do so. Because the intelligence you're giving the man cannot be worked with. It does not prove anything. I'm telling you, Gerald Ramdeen, you should apologize to the judge for trying to push fear-mongering and telling him utter nonsense about, oh, if it is something happens when this woman is released, it's your fault and all kind of nonsense. The judge should have put you in your place for that. My response, wow, we didn't know Shrek and his merry men would have appealed. Because people were like kind of shocked. Oh no, and not really actually, just the way the media kind of stated it, you know. Like, ta-da, nah, I wasn't shocked at all. It's the same thing again. I knew it was going to be the same thing. Just the same thing. Thankfully, this time, it didn't end up where they had to end up going back and appealing again and all kind of thing. They're now under house arrest. Can someone tell us how much it's costing taxpayers to continue this witch hunt against Hadiths and Granny Sabga? How much these lawyers are being paid? Can you tell us, State? Tyrant Camps, can you tell us? Roger Alexander, can you tell us? The judges and so many others in society have been condemning the state's detention of Sabga and the Hadiths based on personal conversation, and yet UNC fanatics still say there's a lot of evidence that hasn't been presented yet. That's according to your precious Roger Alexander and others. Thus far, what has been presented isn't credible at all by their UNC activists. I want to say that the phone conversation did not contain any plot to murder anyone. It was wishful thinking. Especially Star Sabga, who simply wished that certain things would happen. And besides wishing, she said that if it wasn't only about what her wishes are, you know, right? And it probably wasn't even personal. It was just like how a lot of Chadis say it. UNC people have been saying that for 9.5 years about Rowley. They were wishing the same type of things could have happened to Rowley, right? But this woman never actually said that she was going to carry out this crime. She was going to plot with anyone. And she also said something that was factual, just like how when Kamala said how blood would flow in the streets if PNM entered back into office because crime would increase, right? That was a factual statement. But it's the same thing. Part of Star Sabga's statement was factual as well. That if the 1% businesses are destroyed, the country will collapse. There will be chaos in the country. That part of it was factual, people. And when there's chaos, you don't know what else could happen. The phone conversation did not contain any plot to murder anyone. All of a sudden, UNCs can't differentiate between a person wishing something would happen to actually conspiring with others to commit a crime. There's a difference, people. There's a difference between wishing that something would happen to actually conspiring, putting it into action with others to commit a crime. You hypocrites wished death upon the former dictator Rowley for 9.5 years, but still have the audacity to accuse these individuals of attempting to murder government officials. You are hypocrites. The comments all online. The police, I find, they should be going back all the years and seeing all who were making threats towards Rowley. Lock them up too. All them UNC people. This is yet another reason why Roger Alexander should be fired immediately. But Kamala already defended him, so you know that ain't going to happen. You revoked the Hadid's PDO and yet expected the judge to rule in your favor in this case? Ramdeen and Hadid, and Roger Alexander? I wanted to ask, how come the Hadids are no longer an existential risk to government official safety? How come? How come they're not an existential threat anymore, Roger Alexander? And yet you're still continuing with your investigation. Because the whole reason why you held them behind bars is because they would have carried out their plot. Yet NTS decided, you know what, forget it. Let them go. Telling you, that's just not making sense. Right. I went on to say Ramdeen could have never made these absurd statements if our nation wasn't under an SOE because Star Sabga would have been released from prison weeks ago if charges couldn't be laid due to lack of evidence. All this nonsense he was trying to put fear-mongering into the heart, or fear into the heart, using fear-mongering to try to put fear in the heart of the judge by talking about, oh, if something happened to the Prime Minister, it's your fault. Might not have been the exact words, but that's basically what he said, what he was trying to imply. Right? You cannot say that. Because normal due process says that if it is you do not have sufficient evidence, the person has to be released, whether you like it or not. UNC fanatics will chant as part of the process and the investigation is still ongoing. In spite of all these people, bet your bottom dollar David Welch coming later with some kind of crap. With some kind of crap. You understand? Other UNC fanatics who will come with some kind of crap later. Therein lies the problem. You're supposed to conduct a thorough investigation about any potential crime before arresting and imprisoning citizens. I have no problem with the investigation, you know. If you feel something happening, investigate it. But leave it as that. Investigate how much years you want. As long as you have no evidence, you cannot arrest anybody. A month later, no charges have been laid. Why? It's because the personal conversation between Star Sabga and her niece never resulted in any actual plot to assassinate members of the government, as I said before. UNC hypocrites have made the same types of wishful statements about Rowley and his squad for 10 years, but all of a sudden, they're pretending to be saints. All of a sudden, they never say anything, you know? No, and it's rule of law, all of a sudden. Most likely, the tribunal will also recommend the release, not just how this is house arrest. Most likely, if she also presented this case to the tribunal, which most hopefully I think they did, the tribunal will also recommend the release of this elderly woman, and then Shrek will suddenly realize that it's time to revoke the PDO. I can't believe that Kamala is the one who ended up utterly destroying the UNC, you know. Begs the question if it's intentional. If it's intentional, she put a former PNM in one of the highest positions in the government, and a man who never showed any support for the UNC in the past, Roger Alexander, in one of the next most powerful positions. What were you doing, Kamala? What was really your plan? Is this intentional to destroy the UNC chances? I don't know. I went on to say I voted for the party my entire life, but now all I see are evil people, deceptive people, arrogant people ruling our nation. And that doesn't mean I've turned to PNM. I will never support the PNM. What I'm seeing is PNM in power right now.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday, July 28, 2026. On Tuesday, July 28, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago will experience cloudy intervals with a maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius and a minimum of 24 degrees Celsius alongside a high probability of daytime thunderstorms. The morning will start with partly sunny skies, but conditions will deteriorate by late morning into the afternoon. The afternoon brings a 40% to 45% chance of scattered thunderstorms, which can produce gusty winds and localized street flooding. The humidity will average around 80%, making it feel like 33 degrees Celsius during peak afternoon heat. Conditions are expected to clear up by the evening, turning into a mostly fair night with light scattered showers towards midnight. Marine conditions feature slight to moderate seas in open waters. Waves will range from 1.0 to 1.5 meters in open waters and remain smooth below 1.0 meter in sheltered areas.
Regional news now. Chief Executive Officer of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Tourism Authority, Shafia London, has pledged a renewed commitment to promoting the country's tourism product through a more proactive and strategic marketing approach. Speaking at the unveiling of Inter-Caribbean Airways' newly branded aircraft, Spirit of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, last Thursday at the Argyle International Airport, London, said the destination is well positioned for growth and that the Tourism Authority is determined to ensure St. Vincent and the Grenadines remains competitive in the regional tourism market. Really important for their economy, for it to continue to grow, for their GDP, for it to acquire or generate foreign revenue. London also underscored the important role Inter-Caribbean Airways will play in advancing the Tourism Authority's marketing strategy. She said the airline's expanded regional network and the branding of the aircraft will increase the country's visibility across the Caribbean, helping to attract more visitors and strengthen St. Vincent and the Grenadines' presence in key tourism markets.
As the Tourism Authority prepares to launch an exciting new chapter in destination marketing, we will be telling our story more boldly than ever before. We will be inviting travelers to experience our islands, our culture, our adventure, our people, and our spirit. Our ambition is clear. We are stepping into a new era of destination marketing, one that will see St. Vincent and the Grenadines showcased around the Caribbean and across the world with unprecedented reach and impact. And when those travelers are inspired to visit, which they shall be, they must know that getting here is not a challenge, it is a possibility. Every flight by Inter-Caribbean into Argyle International Airport represents opportunity. Every new passenger represents potential for our hotels, restaurants, taxi operators, tour guides, attractions, farmers, fisherfolk, artisans, and countless small businesses whose livelihoods are supported by tourism. This aircraft will travel across the Caribbean week after week. It will carry not only our beautiful destination flag, but also a message that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is open, connected, accessible, and ready to welcome the world.
International news now. President Donald Trump warned voters at a weekend campaign rally that progressive policies are steering the United States towards communism, calling the political shift the greatest threat in American history. He's right. He's right. If he only knows that Kamala is doing that here in Trinidad and Tobago as well, transforming our nation into a socialist, autocratic police state. Speaking to a crowd in Georgia, Trump argued that the political goals of far-left Democrats have evolved past socialism, into outright communism. Exactly, and that's how it always ends up. You start with socialism, it ends up into communism. He stated that if these policies are fully implemented, the nation will face bankruptcy within a single year, leading to widespread poverty and the total collapse of basic public services like police and fire departments. Now, putting that aside, or bear in mind, people, some of the things that I will not agree with him, because I believe, to an extent, at least basic, you should have basic free health care like what we have in Trinidad. Charge if you want or whatsoever to every working individual. But there's, this whole thing in America, how everything has to be paid. I don't really agree with that. So there are certain things. But there are a lot of other types of laws that the Democrats are trying to push, which is really socialism on steroids, is what I don't agree with. There are certain things, I'm telling you, I believe to an extent that you must put in place in order to be able to assist your citizens and help them. And Republicans tend to have a way they don't want to be able to do it at all, and everybody just supposed to be helping themselves and all kind of stuff like that. They are too extreme with certain things. But in general, yes, I definitely support capitalism far more than socialism. A little bit of socialism in between, But as Trump said that, they're taking it to a whole new level now. The remarks represent a significant escalation in Trump's campaign rhetoric as he focuses on framing the platform of his political opponents as an existential threat to the nation's future stability and safety. I will always say that when it pertains to American politics, I would hope and pray every time Americans will go there and vote for Republicans. Republicans, far from perfect, but they definitely would restrain evil in America a whole lot more than the Democrats.
They're siding with the radical left communists taking over the party. They want, in other words, the normal socialists who can destroy a country too. They're not going fast enough. Do you remember, like in one of my State of the Union speeches, I said, we will never be a socialist country. But I was right. We're going to be a communist country. That's what they want. They skipped socialism. Can you believe it? But communism is the greatest threat to our country in history, including even World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or 9/11. I mean, this is a serious threat because they're going to promise all sorts of things. In 1 year, the country will be absolutely bankrupt. You'll live in squalor. You'll live in fear. You won't have police. You won't have firemen. You won't have anybody. You're going to be... It's a disaster. Even the thought of it is a disaster. And we have the hottest country in the world. We don't want to have it, and we have to be strong about it. We can't be nice. You know, a lot of the Republicans are nice. We're a very nice party. We shouldn't be so nice, to be honest with you.
Psalm 19:13-14. A prayer for purity of heart and speech. Keep your servant also from willful sins, may they not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.